We have multiple winter storms that will be traversing from west to east across the United States, and each winter storm will be producing heavy snow, ice, heavy rain, and the potential for severe weather going into the middle of February. And we're going to be walking you through the forecast step by step so you can understand what you can see for weather forecasts in your area moving forward. If you are new to the channel, subscribe down below and follow along with all my detailed, accurate weather breakdowns on this channel. If you do find the video informative, give a like, a thumbs up down below, and share this video with friends, family, and on social media. I definitely appreciate it. Let's get into the weather forecast this evening because we are seeing some colder air moving in from Canada, and that's dropping south into the northern and northwestern United States. And you can see the milder air down here along the Gulf Coast. That's where we're seeing temperatures that are above normal as we go through this weekend. Let's look at our highs that we achieved across the western United States this afternoon. We saw 70s, even some 80s down here in southeast New Mexico this Saturday afternoon. Coldest of the air bottled up to the north into Idaho, Montana, Wyoming, temperatures there into the teens and 20s this afternoon. And as we go into Sunday morning, we're going to be seeing low temperatures down into the single digits above, even some below zero single digit temperatures up across portions of Montana, Wyoming, Idaho, really just in the higher elevations with more of the 30s, 40s, and 50s further to the south. How about the central U.S.? Seeing temperatures highs in the single digits above zero to teens up here across the Dakotas, Minnesota stretching east into Wisconsin today, as well as Nebraska and Iowa. 30s, 40s further to the south into places like Kansas, Missouri, Illinois, and Indiana. And then much warmer air. Look at that, 90s into south central Texas this afternoon, 80s over here in southern Arkansas, Louisiana, and Mississippi. And as we go into your Sunday morning, we're going to cool our temperatures off into the north. In North Dakota, northern Minnesota, and northwest Wisconsin, we'll see temperatures below zero as we go into Sunday morning. Teens and 20s as far south as the central and southern plains through the Ohio Valley and then along the Gulf Coast. That's where our lows will be into the 50s and 60s to start your day on Sunday. In the eastern U.S., we have a mild day across Kentucky into the 60s and areas to the south towards Alabama, Georgia, South Carolina, Florida. A lot of 70s, even some 80s out there. More of the 20s and 30s to the north towards Michigan, Ohio, into much of the northeast and the mid-Atlantic. A nice wintry day with our temperatures today. And then looking here at tomorrow morning, our temperatures will be into the 20s across the most part of the northern United States. 30s in the middle there from the Ohio into the Tennessee River Valley in the mid-Atlantic, and then more of the 50s and 60s further to the south. Now, we do have a winter storm that continues to bring some heavy snow, ice potential, and some severe weather on the southern side with heavy rain this evening. And the snow is in the blue, the pinks and purples, that is sleet and freezing rain. In the greens here with some yellows at times, that is rain, and at times heavy rain with some severe weather. So going into the evening, we got heavier snow, Albany, New York, over here toward Boston. That continues into places like Hartford, down to New York City. We're going to be seeing snowfall rates around 1 to 1.5 inches per hour. We got ice potential across portions of Pennsylvania into central Jersey. That's including the Trenton area as we go through this evening. And then a broken line at least, of some strong thunderstorms that could bring some 60-mile-per-hour winds, quarter-size hail, and a brief tornado risk through especially Kentucky as we go into the overnight hours. That continues Sunday morning. Still snowing here in Boston, Concord, New Hampshire, up there toward Portland, Maine. So we're definitely seeing the potential for some more snowfall there into your Sunday morning. But as we go throughout the day, we're going to be seeing the atmosphere dry out from west to east. So we're going to get rid of our snow across the northeast as we go deeper into the morning and then eventually into the afternoon on Sunday. Looking here at the warm side of the system, rainfall will be few and far in between. If you get under a thunderstorm, could be seeing an easily quarter, half an inch of rain, maybe localized an inch, especially from Kentucky south toward Tennessee and the northern part of Dixie Alley, like northern Mississippi, northern Alabama, and North Georgia. You get a little bit colder of a column aloft, right? We're melting the snowflakes into raindrops. Those raindrops fall all the way down to the surface. They refreeze. That's freezing rain. And we could be seeing potentially upwards to a quarter inch of freezing rain from Indiana into northern Ohio, into much of Pennsylvania. And that looks to continue further east into northern Jersey, southern New York State, into Connecticut and Rhode Island. So be keeping an eye on some icy road conditions through your Sunday morning time frame. Get a little bit colder than that. You have the snowfall, starting to fall down from the cloud, and then we start to see it melt a little bit, but it refreezes before it hits the ground. That is sleet, and we could see that as well from Lake Erie eastward through Pennsylvania, especially northern Pennsylvania, over here toward the I-95 corridor, Philly, up there toward Baltimore and toward Boston. And then you get a little bit colder than that. Snowflakes from the cloud all the way to the ground. That is snowfall, and you can see the potential for significant snow over 6 inches, especially for Boston, back here into Concord, New Hampshire, maybe even Albany, New York. This is additional snow of what we're already seeing this evening. And then a couple more inches of snow back there to the west into Michigan and eastern Wisconsin, even into our friends into southern Ontario, seeing the potential for a couple inches of snow as well. Now let's look up at the stratosphere. This is a layer above where we live. We live in the troposphere. The stratosphere is above us here by a few thousand feet, right? So we're definitely seeing a polar vortex split. We have 2 lobes of the polar vortex, one over here towards Siberia, one moving down toward the Hudson Bay and in Canada. And we have warming on either side, over towards Scandinavia and over here as well into Alaska and the Aleutian Islands. So that's going to force cold air in 2 directions. The first direction over here toward Russia and Siberia. The second area is further to the south toward Canada and the United States. So what this is going to do for the lower 48 is bring us some colder air as we go into next week, and especially where you see these deeper blues and purples like Montana, into the Dakotas, into Alberta and Saskatchewan, Manitoba provinces of Canada. That's where we're going to be seeing the coldest of air, but that cold air will trickle down further south from there, maybe even getting as far south as the Red River Valley into Oklahoma and Texas and into Arkansas, parts of western Tennessee. And that's where we're going to start to see our storm track evolve as we go into next week. This could bring multiple winter storms because we have the cold air supply and then we have the moisture moving over that cold air, and that will bring the chance for some wintry precipitation, snow, and some ice out there. So here we go on Monday, February 10th. We're seeing some of that moisture beginning to move into the Four Corners region here as we go into Monday. A weaker winter storm. This is going to be more flattened across the Ohio Valley, so probably not reaching Milwaukee, Chicago, or the Twin Cities with this storm. As we go into Tuesday, this is going to be more suppressed to the south, so the lower Ohio River Valley and into the mid-Atlantic could see a couple inches of rain and some icy road conditions, so be watching out for that. Rainfall further to the south where you see the green into Dixie Alley and toward the Carolinas. Now, by the middle of next week, we got another stronger low-pressure system developing back here toward the Colorado Rockies. This is going to lead to some moderate heavy snow bands across parts of southern Nebraska, Kansas, and then where we have a little bit of some warmer air aloft, we're going to see still cold air at the surface, so then we're going to see a freezing rain and sleet, and then further south from there, it's warm from the cloud all the way to the ground, we're going to see all the rain. And notice as we go into middle of next week, Wednesday night into Thursday, this could be a big winter storm for places like Kansas City, Chicago, Rockford, Illinois, up there toward Milwaukee, Prairie du Chien, even up toward Green Bay, and then stretching over into Michigan, Kalamazoo, Grand Rapids, and Detroit. Now, there is going to be a transition zone where we see some freezing rain and sleet. That looks to set up here from St. Louis into Indianapolis, up there toward Dayton, Ohio, and Toledo, and all the way up there toward Lake Erie, and then maybe some heavy rain and severe weather where you see the darker greens from Kentucky southward into Tennessee and towards the Gulf Coast. And then as we go deeper into the week there, that'll move over toward the northeast, bigger winter storm for Ontario and Quebec, and then we just reload our atmosphere for another winter storm later next week. Here's the winter storm midweek. We could be seeing an additional 6 to 12 inches in a widespread zone from portions of the Central Plains all the way up to the Great Lakes here in parts of the Northeast, southeastern Canada. That's where we could be picking up maybe over a foot of snow in southern Ontario and Quebec as this system really begins to mature. So if you're in Chicago, Milwaukee, Detroit, Kalamazoo, Grand Rapids, back here the Davenport Quad Cities, into St. Joseph or even Kansas City, all the way back to Topeka. These are areas that haven't seen a lot of snow this winter. I think we'll have a plowable snowfall as we go into the middle of next week, into Wednesday night, and then into Thursday. Now, looking here at the system behind that'll be coming in right on its heels. This will be giving us a big dip in the jet stream across portions of the west. It's really going to organize and mature just like the system midweek will. And by next weekend, February 15th and February 16th, that'll be Saturday, Sunday, that's where we could have the potential for some more wintry weather. Because here's the cold air next weekend, and it's still parked across the northern U.S. Cold air supply basically right at hand here in the northern plains. And then when you have moisture moving over that area, here comes the snow. The Sierras will get it first as it moves onto the west coast. Heavier rains for central Southern California foothills there. So Los Angeles, San Diego, San Bernardino, those areas seeing the potential for some heavier rain. And then that transition over to the east into the central and eastern U.S., heavier snows in the similar areas, Kansas City, Des Moines, Chicago, back over toward Detroit, Milwaukee, Green Bay, you name it, even over there into the northeast, like Buffalo, New York, could be getting some pretty heavy snow. A transition zone somewhere in the Ohio Valley, maybe it could be St. Louis, could be Indianapolis, Cincinnati. We'll have the potential for some icy mix of freezing rain and sleet, and then heavier rain and some severe weather potential further south toward Tennessee and toward the Gulf Coast next weekend. This system will be bringing snow. Like I said, plowable snows will be possible into next week. We got the midweek system, and then here's the weekend system next weekend. And wherever you see the darker grays and lighter blues here, that's where confidence is high enough for at least a few inches of snow from Iowa into northern Illinois, into southern Wisconsin, southern lower Michigan, much of northern Indiana and Ohio over here into New York State, Pennsylvania, and much of Massachusetts as we go into next weekend. Looking here at the stratospheric polar vortex now into the third week of February, it's going to start to elongate a little bit further south toward the Great Lakes, and that puts the cold air, again, right over the northern and northeastern United States. And this could be pulling down some below normal temperatures all the way down here across the deep south as we go into that third week of February, basically February 17th through the 22nd time frame. And where you see these greens, we could be easily 10, 20, even 25 degrees below normal with our temperatures here in that third week of the month. And when we have cold air, if you have moisture moving over that, we could be seeing additional winter storms across the Midwest, the Ohio Valley, the Great Lakes, the Mid-Atlantic, and the Northeast as we go into that third week of February with more rain and severe weather events further off to the south. If you did find this video informative, I encourage you to subscribe to the channel and follow along with all my detailed, accurate weather forecasts. We'll have another forecast for you tomorrow. Like the video down below, give it a thumbs up. Share this video with friends, family, and on social media. If you want to leave a comment down below, if you have any weather questions on here about any of those winter storms I mentioned in the video or any weather-related questions, I definitely appreciate it. I hope everyone has a wonderful rest of their weekend out there.